Welcome to the Rundown with Ramon. In today's show, we're going to talk about a lot of interesting things, and they include Ramon's volunteer weekend. That's me, and I went to volunteer somewhere and give so much to other people, but I got so much back in return. What we can learn from that experience, and how you can be direct with people, but you don't have to be a jerk. And that's not all. There are a lot more tips and insights to help you live your best life on the Rundown with Ramon. And in each episode, I'm going to help you grow your business or improve your life, which includes your family, your health, your finances, and maybe even your faith. By the way, I have 2 adult children. I've been married for almost 30 years. I'm a serial entrepreneur, best-selling author of several books, a keynote speaker, and you can get to know me better at RamonRay.com. So thanks for watching the Rundown with Ramon. And you know what? Let's get started. So thanks for watching the Rundown with Ramon. Here's what we're going to talk about today. 1, I went away for the weekend to volunteer at a church. I went to a weekend retreat to spend some time with some friends and make new friends. And it's amazing, sometimes you go somewhere to spend time with other people. You go somewhere to pour into other people. You go somewhere to share with others. And you get so much back. So my quick, short thought or tip was just to remind us all, even though probably many of you listening to this like to volunteer, like to go out. By the way, if you like to volunteer, if you do that, hit me up, email me, Ramon@RamonRay.com, and let me know where your favorite places to volunteer are. But many of you do that already. But what's also great is having these experiences and going to these experiences and where you get back as well. So it's a reminder to open your heart, leave your heart open, not just to give, and giving is good, right? The book, if you haven't read it yet, The Go-Giver, but also open your heart to receive, because receiving is so important as well. And sometimes, yes, of course, you hear the Bible says it's better to give than receive, but once in a while, it's also good to receive. And that leads me to another point. I was at another event just recently called Apex Entourage, a group of business owners who pour together to grow their businesses and learn more about sales and other things. And I realized there's a difference in entrepreneurial dress and style. I live in the Northeast area, the New York, New Jersey area, and oftentimes we wear a jacket, a collared shirt, a pair of khaki pants or nice jeans, and a cool pair of casual shoes, you know? But at this event, everybody was like jacked up. Not everybody, most people were. So many people had beards, several people had tattoos, black t-shirts, black jeans, and work boots or sneakers. So it was amazing to me. 1, it depends on the area of the world or the area of the country you're at, how people can dress and look different, but also never assume things. Sometimes you can go somewhere and you can make some assumptions about how you think people are or how you think people dress or look, and you could be off. So even though you can never judge a book by its cover, that's true, I do think what we have outside of us can reflect sometimes what's inside of us. So that was one of our lessons today on the Rundown with Ramon. How you can be direct without being a jerk. This was an interesting blog post by Lara Hogan, and you can go to her blog and check that out. But I thought to share it with you because sometimes in leadership, sometimes as we're building a business, working in a corporation, or working in our own business, you have to be a bit direct with people. I think always being direct is good to some degree. Now, being direct doesn't mean you have to be a jerk, though. That's what her article is about. And what she says here, we're assuming that this manager, as it were, has already identified and documented the project's goal. So that is one part of clear communication. Make sure people understand the North Star. People understand exactly what's happening. And Laura says, one thing to do as you're on this journey of not being a jerk, but being clear, is to let the team know, and you think for yourself, what are you optimizing for? Understand that. Understand the clear goals and results. Number 2, identify your roles and responsibilities, she says. Sometimes it's not clear who's the leader, who's doing what, but have you identified that for yourself to your team? And then interesting, she says, describe your role in outcomes rather than describing how you'll do your work. Outcome-based leadership is important because instead of telling yourself or telling people, as it were, we got to tell yourself, but telling people how to do it, let them know the outcome. If they're smart people, you may have 4 different people doing things more or less 4 different ways, but the outcome could be just as good. So that's an important part. And then, of course, Laura says not just yourself, but identify your team's roles and responsibilities as well. What are they going to be doing or not doing? Are people clear at it? I just launched a new business called Zone of Genius. You can see that at zoneofgenius.com, and I'm doing that with my team. I have to give clarity of who is doing what, when, and how. The other thing she says, communicate the who, what, when, and how to your team, which is kind of what we said. And this is interesting too. As you communicate with your team, do communicate with particular individuals first. Give people a heads up, talk one-on-one. But also, being sensitive, also do communicate with the whole team. 2 more things Laura says in this good article. She says, respond to pushback, and you should be ready for people to push back on what you're telling them. And pushback is okay if said gracefully and respectfully. And then empowerment versus direction. You don't want to be a leader who spends his or her life telling people exactly what to do and how to do it. You can't grow that way. They can't grow, your team can't grow, and you wear yourself out. But if you're a leader that gives people empowerment and says, here's where we're trying to get there, take us there, you will find that you have a lot more time on your hands. You can grow as a leader, do other things, and your team can grow as well. All right, another thing with Rundown with Ramon, how social media giants are playing e-commerce catch up. This was an interesting article as we've seen a lot of social media giants morph into being e-commerce players. Back in the day, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, a couple years ago, things were very much website based. You had to go to a website and buy things, or go to a Shopify store or other things like that. Go to your major retailers to buy, go to Amazon, possibly Walmart, etc. But Modern Retail had a blog post, an article out that really talked about how the social networks are morphing. And I think this is important, whether you're in a corporation, but especially if you have an independent business. Why? Because you should have a multi-channel sales opportunity for your customers. So not just they have to buy from you on the phone, not just that they have to go into your store, not just that they have to buy from you on a core website, but can they also buy from you via social media channels? That's important. The world of social media, of course, it's an understatement, is exploding. So when they're on Facebook, there's digital stores on Facebook are now called shops. And soon, according to this article, which was written a bit of time ago, but you can offer exclusive gifts and free shipping in your Facebook store, leveraging that marketing tact of free shipping. Google itself is investing, the article says, in an omni-channel advertising tools after seeing a 4-time increase in people searching for local store opening times. So Google's getting in this game to enable people to shop right from where they are instead of you forcing them to click somewhere else. This is interesting. Also, Google owns YouTube, and the web giant, the article says, is still in the early innings of making YouTube shoppable. That's going to be interesting. So no longer will it just be the ads we see on YouTube all the time, but imagine watching a video and being able to click and order something right within that video. Snapchat, the article says, is doubling down on its branded augmented reality shopping lenses. So that's going to be interesting for you to be able to put on augmented reality, which is, there's virtual reality with the glasses, but then there's augmented reality, I think, which you can immerse your phone over an image and have that image pop up where you are within your phone. That's going to be interesting to trying virtual try-ons increasing with Snapchat. And there's going to be continuing, of course, following Facebook and Snapchat. You have Twitter, which is going to be, or has already rolled out business profiles and is going to be growing for that. I've authored 5 books. I think it was my latest book is Celebrity CEO. So you can check that out. Celebrity CEO, another booklet that I wrote is called Grow Your Solo Business. And the point being, many people of you listening to me are probably creators. And I'm curious, if you're a creator, if you're hearing the sound of my voice, reach out to me. Email me, ramon@ramonray.com, or DM me on Instagram, Ramon Ray Smart Hustle on Instagram. And let me know if you're a creator. I'm curious who out there is our creators out there. And a friend of mine, Mark Schaefer, who's a well-established book author and online marketing guru ninja, he had an interesting article about how he made 6 figures self-publishing his books. There's quite a bit of a debate, as it were, a thought, should you self-publish your book or should you go through a traditional publisher? A traditional publisher is okay, you get that big advance, but they're betting that you can sell books. But going by self-publishing is not a bad route. In fact, it could be a great route. So a few things he says, and of course you have to have a good book title, a good book image, you have to have good book content, you have to market the book, which I'll get into in a minute. And Seth Godin, by the way, Seth Godin has 2 good blog posts for authors. But here's what Mark Schaefer says. Success is tied to your personal brand. The book will sell more depending on how well your personal brand is. Mark says monetizing products takes tenacity and patience. There's no shortcut. The Celebrity CEO, when I wrote that book, we had a marketing plan in place to sell the book and get it to the hands of small business owners and others. Mark says you can't sell a lot of books without being known. So definitely you want to do the work ahead of time to build your funnel, build your list before you start selling your book. Mark says, create something bold and beautiful. I think I have books behind me. Yeah, I have a few books behind me, a few books on this shelf. You want to be your book to look, pop, and sizzle, right? Add some color to it, as it were, but make something bold and beautiful. Not just the colors and imagery of the book, but bold and beautiful, the title and what it is. He says here, your book is your legacy, Mark says. Make sure it is worthy of your brand. Very interesting comment article that Mark Schaefer wrote there as well. The other point he says is book sales and speaking. As you're speaking, as you're going around, having a book can be a great way to enhance the sales of your speaking and back of the room sales. Selling the book or building it into your speaking contract. Maybe people can't pay you to speak at some stage, but maybe they can buy your book. So Mark says, because I self-publish, I have the power to offer great discounts on my books to my customers and still have a substantial profit margin. That's great. That's a great opportunity. What about creating an audiobook? Nothing better than people hearing your voice, your tribe, your community who wants to read from you, hearing your voice up close in their ear. International sales can be a great way, licensing your books to foreign publishers, a multi-year plan. This is interesting to take your book and extend it not just for this year, but for the years to come. It's almost impossible to make money from writing a business book, but you have a better chance if you become known over time and write several books. Mark says, I didn't start making significant money until my 5th book. Interesting. Don't forget university sales. Can your book be something that can be sold in universities, especially as you're teaching? Quality, quality, quality. Don't throw crap together and just do nonsense. Make the book well worth it. And then the promotion. We started out with that, but promoting your book is important because when you finish the book and you finish typing it out, all those things like this, promoting it is the other half because you're only halfway done just by doing the book. Introducing yourself at business events or other events is interesting. There's an interesting article by Harvard Business Review which talked about a simple way that you can introduce yourself. And sometimes how you introduce yourself can affect the entire conversation. So Harvard Business Review talks about a simple way to introduce yourself. And this is by Andrea Wojnicki, MBA and DBA, an executive communication coach and founder of Talk About Talk, which is a multimedia learning resource. Andrea says, 1, present. Start with a present tense statement to introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Ashley, a software engineer. My current focus is optimizing customer experience. So talk about what you're doing presently. Then Andrea recommends, go to the past. The second part of your introduction is past tense. My background is, before joining this team or before I'm doing what I'm doing, I was doing this. And then she says, talk about the future. The third and last part in this framework is future-oriented. I'm honored to be here. The project is a significant opportunity for all of us. So talk about the past, where you've been, talk about the present, what you're doing, and talk about the future, where you want to be. I thought that was pretty cool. How to introduce yourself. And you can use that at Thanksgiving, use it at your next business conference, on your next online video call with Zoom or Blue Jeans or Google Talk or what have you, right? Zoho meeting, whatever you're doing. So that's an interesting way to introduce yourself. How was that tip, by the way? I'm curious if that's helped you. If it has, could you DM me on Instagram? DM me and let me know that you're hearing it. DM me on Ramon Ray Smart Hustle. One sentence. Apple reminded everyone why it's the most valuable company on earth. This was in Inc.com. Jason Ayton writes this. And he says, you might think that Apple's success has to do with its products. I do think that's some of the fact. It's branding and how they look. But it isn't just the cool products that are making it success. There's actually something very boring, Jason points out, as he says. Our June quarter results continue to demonstrate our ability to manage our business effectively despite the challenging operating environment, says Luca Mastri, Apple's CFO, on a recent earnings call. What the CFO said, basically, we're just better at managing our business. So think about that. Yes, product, I think design and look is important. Understanding who your customer is important. But one of the ways that we can all have an edge that other people just can't have the same edge we have because we're different is how we're managing our business. And I want you to remember that for those of you who are business owners. Think of that as you go day by day. The secret sauce you have could be just how you're managing your business. Maybe you're selling the same products and services as everybody else, but how you're managing it, how you're marketing it, how you're hiring, how you're firing, your operations, your fulfillment, your logistics, whatever it might be, that may be your secret sauce. This is fun, and I'd like your input on this. Why salesmen should consider growing beards. This is an article in the Wall Street Journal, which had a fun little study by one of the reporters that talked about if beards are better or not. When participants rated their perceptions of Mike, talking about a survey that somebody did, as a salesman, the bearded version always scored highest, 10.6% higher for expertise when compared with clean-shaven version, and 11.6 higher for trustworthiness. So this little survey says that those with beards could appear more trustworthy. I thought that was pretty cool, but I'm more interested to know, what do you think? Beard or no beard, does that increase your trustworthiness or not? I'm curious. Email me, Ramon@RamonRay.com, or just DM me on Instagram, Ramon Ray Smart Hustle on Instagram. But let me know what you think about bearded men or not, how that works for you. The do's and don'ts of turning your hobby into a business. This is by SCORE. SCORE is a great organization which helps small businesses for free. I've been on their webinars many, many times, and they had a great, interesting tips on turning your hobby into a business. Many of you hearing the sound of my voice watching this video may have a hobby for a business, which is fine. But here's what SCORE says, how you can turn that hobby possibly into a business. One, do your homework. Do you understand your own strengths and weaknesses as a business owner? Don't spend your precious time tackling tasks you can quickly and affordably outsource to a freelancer or independent contractor. Do consider where you plan to sell your goods and services. Maybe you're going to do it at a local fair. Maybe you're going to do it on Etsy. Maybe you're going to do it on Amazon, other platforms. Do embrace technology. Do seek advice, and don't treat your business as a hobby. Our last point, what a good night's sleep can do for your heart. Having a good night's sleep, it's important and could do quite a bit for your heart. The American Heart Association added sleep to its list of factors critical to heart health. If you're not getting good sleep, if you're not getting good rest, that's not too good, because having good sleep helps your body recover, helps your body repair. And the better, not the longer you can sleep per se, but I think the more restful your sleep is, the better you'll be. Some scientists now believe that healthy sleep habits can help prevent cardiovascular disease, and that poor sleep can help doctors identify who might be at risk of the condition. Third point here, interruptions during sleep do matter. So when you're sleeping, have minimal interruptions, have your phone on silent or away from you, and be in a quiet place. Listen, this is The Rundown with Ramon. I hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks so much for watching The Rundown with Ramon. I'm glad you decided to spend your time with me. I'd love to know what you think. I'd love to know how you're enjoying The Rundown with Ramon. Give me your comments, give me your insight. You can get to know me better and connect with me at RamonRay.com. Again, that's RamonRay.com. And one more time, thanks for watching The Rundown with Ramon. Now for the next part of The Rundown with Ramon, our panel, which is my favorite part of the entire show. The Rundown with Ramon panel is going to share their expert insights, their life lessons learned, their comments and opinion with you right now. Let's go to the panel. Hey, so the favorite part of The Rundown with Ramon is the panel, my friends, and experts, opinionators, commentators, and all mixed up here. But I'm glad you're here today. Before we start up, Dr. Robert Kennedy III. I gave you a doctorate. You hear that just for this show? Gave you a doctorate, Robert III. How are you, brother? What's going on in your world? How's your family? How's your life? How are things in the world of Robert Kennedy III?
Fantastic. Life is great. Just took my daughter back to Alabama for her second year of college. And I'm still kind of dealing with that emotionally right now. But
let's have a
outside of
moment of
that, I'm
quietness.
good.
You'll be all right. What's the Martin Lawrence movie where he's taking his daughter? And I don't know if you saw that, taking his daughter to all over the colleges. Y'all seen that? Martin Lawrence somewhere.
No, but what I do remember is Bad Boys when
Yes.
yes, when the date came, and I remember that.
Oh yeah, Mike Larry. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah.
To that point, Lolita E. Walker, how are things in your world? What's going on in your world? How you feeling?
I'm so excited to be here one more again. Things are going great. I have been traveling, but guess what? Here's the juiciness of it all. I start my PhD on the 22nd.
Congratulations.
Thank
Good
you.
for you. Congratulations. How long is that? Like a year and a half, 2 years? Something like, or longer?
I'm going more with 4 years. I'm going
Oh.
more with 4.5 years at Morgan State University, but also I will be my first time as a collegiate instructor.
Okay.
So wish me luck out there in these streets.
I will. Let us know. I'm so happy for you, Lolita.
Thank you.
And indeed, Dr. Jenny Lacey, how are things in your world? What's new? What's old with you? Talk to us a bit.
I'm doing wonderful. Just came back from up north. I'm here in Florida. Went to the Rock the Bells with LL Cool J with the old school hip hop heads. Absolutely.
I love it.
And I'm actually teaching this weekend, Lolita, at the institute that I teach at. So I'll be teaching through the weekend other therapists on how to work with women and trauma. So full pack time.
I love it. Well, listen, I'm glad you all are here. We have a huge segment to go on the rundown with Ramon. Glad you all are here sharing your expertise. And throughout the show, I definitely want to be reminded to amplify you all and let people connect with you. People hopefully are already doing that. But listen, Lolita, I went to volunteer with my church some weeks ago, and I just thought it was interesting. This is not really a tip. It's more rhetorical, Lolita, that I went there to volunteer, and I think most people do like to volunteer in some way. But the point I was making is that I got so much back. I went to give, but have you ever had those experiences, Lolita, where you went to give, you went to help somebody, but then you paused, as you say a lot, Lolita, and you were like, you got so much. Has that happened to you?
Oh, all of the time. You know, it's something about giving, and that's why the giver is always the winner. The giver is always the winner. And my friend, Dr. Lisa M. Jones, always says that it's that the giver never loses. And I think that the point is that when you serve, and we all stand on the foundation of faith, is that when you serve, your heart is just opened up differently. And so you're receiving all of the things. It's just so amazing. So yes, it happens to me all of the time. And I can still see it in your eyes and your whole body that you've received so much. And it helps you to shift. The perspective changes, right?
I did indeed. No, for sure it does. What about you, Dr. Janie? What about you, Robert? What about your perspective, Dr. Janie? You ever been in those situations where you went to give, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm getting back too much?
Well, I think from a psychological perspective, when we give, we feel like we have a purpose and we feel needed, right? So that's exactly what Lolita was talking about. Sometimes it's about fulfilling us, which is why we pour from the overflow. And I think giving, it just shows that we are people of faith and that we understand that there is a need. And if we have it to give, then why not give?
Yeah. Dr. Janie, I'm going to throw a political issue at you. As I was at this event, I was with a friend of mine who's from India. And I'm used to, for me, as y'all know me, you work with me a bit, all three of us here, all three of you there. I like to serve and take plates and clean up. My wife says, Ramon, certain circumstances, you cleaning up a bit much. We have staff for that, but that's another issue. But point is, I'm cleaning and he took his plate back and he explained to me that in some cultures, serving others that way, taking the plate, is an offense. So Dr. Janie, do you have any clue what I'm talking about? I'm trying to break down this, explain to people what I thought was service. For him, he patiently explained he wasn't being rude in taking his plate, but how he grew up, it would have been an offense to let me do it. Dr. Janie, does that make sense what I'm trying to say in some way?
Makes a lot of sense. And I think wherever we're moving at, we want to understand our environment, understand the culture, because there are times in certain cultures in my own family where you sit at the table and you are to be served versus, as especially a female, you want to go in the kitchen and you want to help. And in certain cultures, the queen has the kitchen and help would be kind of considered offensive. So I think wherever we move, we may have a good heart, but the best part is to know our environment and to know the people that we are, because sometimes we can be offensive and we can actually violate people's boundaries if we're not paying attention and make it all about us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. And sometimes you can do that too much. Robert, I want to touch on something different with you, if I may, unless there was something burning inside that you wanted to mention about giving. May I move on to something else?
Go for it, Doug.
Okay, because
Go for it.
Robert would have said no, I would have stopped the whole show right there. I would have just stopped the whole show and said Robert said no. No, but Robert, I was at another event, Robert, with our mutual friend Scott Simons, Apex event. And it's just interesting. I wanted your perspective, kind of being a Northeastern type person. I could be wrong. We'll see. But I found that being in the Northeastern, I'm so used to a lot of the guys, ladies have a whole different dress code, but a lot of the guys wear a collared shirt. Many of us wear jackets or not. No ties usually, but collared shirts. This event, Robert, 4 things what pretty much every dude there had. 1, jacked up. I mean, I'm not too bad, but like I thought like I was Urkel being in that event. That's 1. Yes, like you, Robert, jacked up. 2, full of tattoos. 3, beards. 4, black t-shirts and black jeans. So it's just interesting. My point being is that you think about wealth and you think about business owners, kind of hinting what you just said, Dr. Janie, but you can't necessarily read a book by its cover because there are plenty of people were wealthy, but they looked a bit different. Talk about that, Robert, if you know what I'm talking about.
Man, I don't know if I want to talk about it. It feels kind of scary. I mean,
it was good. It was nice, though.
I felt like I was at a biker convention or something.
Yeah. Many probably had bikes, too. That was the demographic. Yes.
Yeah. Well, again, you're exactly right. Judging a book by its cover, we have so many things that we assume just visually in life, right? How many times have we run into people or we've been in a room where we see somebody and we're nervous about them, right? And we're scared about them. I was actually watching this little clip yesterday about Jay-Z, right? Jay-Z had this interaction with someone where this mean looking guy came up to him and he saw him approaching him and he was kind of getting a little bit nervous. And he said to him, what's up? And as soon as he said that, the guy broke out into this big smile. I was like, hey, can you autograph something for my daughter? Right. And he was like, oh my gosh, I had this entire scenario made up in my head while this guy was coming to me. And he was, big, muscular, bouncer looking fellow. And he wanted something for his daughter. And his whole entire demeanor shifted and melted because of the importance of his daughter to him. So, man, we can make up so many stories in our heads just on visual appearance alone. But the lesson is go a little bit deeper.
You're right. I mean, people look at me sometimes, Robert, and think I talk too fast, but I do. So they're right about that. But Robert, thank you so much. Dr. Janie, another thing I want to mention to you, a whole different topic as we change here. And again, everybody, thanks for watching The Rundown with Ramon. We have Dr. Janie Lacey, Lolita E. Walker, Robert Kennedy III here with us on this amazing panel. So glad y'all are here. Being direct without being a jerk, Dr. Janie. I was looking at this article from, I want to give credit to Laura Hogan, Hogan, and she wrote this article, and I thought it was interesting. She wrote it in the context of business, how managers sometimes have to be direct, and there's some things they have to do. I talked about already in my monologue, but what are your thoughts on that? Is there sometimes, Dr. Janie, where people want to be direct, they're trying to be clear, but they come off-putting, etc.? Touch on that and what you've talked about with your clients, what you would say on somebody, I need to talk to Robert or Lolita. I don't want to be mean, but yet I got to go above just being syrupy nice. What does Dr. Janie Lacey say about that?
Well, there's 2 paths, Ramon. One is that we all bring our junk to the workplace. So whatever we have yet to deal with, whether it's conflict avoidance, whether it's our insecurity, whether it's anger management, whatever it may be, we bring that stuff right into the boardroom, right into our workplace. So when it comes to communication, it comes back to, are we secure? Do we know what we want to say? Can we be strategic and responsive versus reactive? And can we take what I love Lolita says all the time, a pause and think about what we're going to say before we say it, right? Because we can say things very directly, very clearly with holding someone's dignity and holding their respect and with a smile is what I like to say, because it comes from confidence.
Wow, I like it. You say be direct, but hold that. Say that last line again, but hold their dignity and respect while you're still being clear. Say that one more time, Dr. Janie. That was powerful.
So when we're communicating directly, we can hold someone's dignity and we can do it with grace and we can be respectful, right? Because especially when it gets to the workplace and it's a hot topic, we can bring those emotions to the fight, so to speak, versus, it's a team approach. And if there's something that I can do to bless them by giving them information, how do I want to be communicated to? In a way that I want to be helpful, in the way that I want to help the person grow, and the way that they can hear it. Because sometimes in the workplace, our coworkers, they can't hear us because we're coming with that aggressive energy because something is held tight for us, versus coming with that energy of, you know what, we're on the same team, and perhaps I can bless them by giving them information. So when we're coming them with that energy of a smile, we're approachable, we're clear, we're thinking about the words that we're going to use, which matter, and we say it in a way that we would want someone to speak to us.
Yes, I love that. Dr. Janie, do you know somebody who I heard model that so well? I've heard her do this at least several times, Dr. Janie. You can just say, Ramon, tell me, I don't know. Who is it? You can say that.
Ramon, tell me who it is. I want to know who that person is. I want to meet her.
That's Lolita E. Walker. I've seen Lolita do that at meetings. I've been in stuff with her behind the scenes and stuff. And Lolita, you're going to have to do it yourself. You're going to have to explain. My question is, how do you do it? I'm going to try to mimic her. But like, it's stuff I've heard people chatting and talking like, thank you so much. That was very nice what you said. But I just want to get clear on this. And can we, it's like she uplifted them, put them down, uplifted, like ripped them apart, molded them together. And like with a smile like this, like one of those snipers. Hi, sir. Good morning. How are you? Could you stop there, please? Yeah, exactly, Robert. Anyhow, Lolita, tell us if you know what I'm saying, Lolita, because clearly that's a gift or you've been trained. How do you do that? And explain what you've done so we can learn from that.
I got it from my mama. You know what it is? It really is. Are you clear? Are you confident? And are you committed? Are you clear in what it is that the message is going to be? Are you confident in how you're going to show up in this thing? And then are you committed to the intention, right, of the outcome? Because exactly what Dr. Janie was saying, if you're going to be nasty and that's your intention, that's going to come across. But if I'm sitting in the intention of, you know what, I really want them to understand this and I really want to teach them something on the back end, then that's how I'm going to approach it. So am I clear on that, first of all? And am I committed to that intention? Then am I clear on what my message is? I did work for Procter & Gamble for almost 20 years. So I must say shout out, because one of the things that they do pride themselves on, shout out to P&G, is, doing things in three. And I still to this day. So what are the three messages I want to leave them with? I'm going to stand in it because I'm super confident in it. And then I'm going to be committed to the outcome. But yes, it is a gift.
It is. And I've heard you do it and seen you do it, Lolita, in certain situations that you may know. And you were like on the point. I'm like, you know what? It was good.
Step back.
Robert, you're a communication expert. You work with some of the biggest, best brands in the world on this. What do you say in this angle of communication, clarity? What we're talking about here, Robert? Tell us.
So in communication training, there are two things that I lean into. One is focus on the problem, not the person, right? And so a lot of times when there's conflict or when there's tension, it's because we take things personally. There's an emotional tie in or buy into certain things. And if we focus on, as Lolita mentioned, outcomes, if we focus on what the end result is, then it becomes easier to subtract or to remove ourselves from the personality of it. The other thing is there's also a difference between aggressive and assertive communication. Right? So aggressive communication, there's more emotion tied into it. And that's more tied to being right? And it's also more tied to making myself be higher than someone else. Being assertive is more so, okay, this is the result. This is what we've agreed to as a group, as a company, as a department. And here are the outcomes. How can we get there? What are the steps that need to be taken? So removing facts and feelings, or separating facts and feelings, really leaning into what is, instead of who's at fault or who's to blame for certain things. Let's really focus on that outcome. Let's be intentional, and let's focus on the problem and not the person.
I love it. Next time I have an argument with anybody in my house, I may just give you a call, Robert, and help us.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You got my number. Speed dial, bro. Let's do it.
Oh, me. But listen, I want to take the time to have you all tell people how they can reach you. Again, everybody, I'm Ramon Ray. Best way to reach me, you can just Google me for that matter, but RamonRay.com. No Y, no D, not Ramoncito, not hola. No, it's just RamonRay.com. Really simple. You can connect with me, and we're so grateful you're watching The Rundown with Ramon. Lolita E. Walker, what's the best way you want people to reach out to you and connect with you, Lolita? And Lolita, we almost hear you. But see, here's what happened, Lolita. See, you communicated so expressively, so well. It's like, it just went like, shaboom. But well, I'm gonna ask you that again. Lolita E. Walker, what's the best way that people can communicate and connect with you, Lolita?
Here's the thing. This is why I love The Rundown with Ramon.
Why?
Because it's live and it does the thing. So look, it is LolitaWalker.com. That's LOLITA Walker.com. I love it.
Love it. Thank you, Lolita. Dr. Jenny Lacy, what's the best way people can reach out to you who are looking to see how you can help them, how you can serve them? What's the best way you want people to reach out to you?
Yep, absolutely. So it's Janie Lacy everywhere, JanieLacy.com, and that's JANIE, and Lacy is LACY.com.
Love it. Robert Kennedy, what about yourself, brother? How can people connect with you and reach out to you?
Hey, I'm trying something new, man.
Okay.
My website is robertkennedy3.com, but I've got this other place and I've called it RK3. That's me. Yeah, right. So all the socials, everything is there. So RK3, that's .me. RK3, that's me. Reach out. Let's roll.
You need some like music with that. I don't want to take the show off tune like the Hot 97 Late Night, the guy with the deep voice, which is you. You know, who says, ladies, my name is, I forgot that guy's name back in the 80s and 90s, but RK.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the late, okay.
The late night hour.
Quiet soul, the quiet storm, the quiet storm.
Yes, the quiet storm voice. For
Quiet, that was it, quiet.
Yes.
Yes, y'all are too much. All right, let's move forward here. The topic I wanted to touch on is e-commerce and social media. In my humble opinion, again, having done this for over 20 years, bought my first domain in April 1999 and been online earlier, used to FTP, file transfer protocol file, 3 times a day to blog. Those who don't know what it is, don't even worry about it. You're not missing anything. The point I'm getting at, historically, buying online, you had to go to an online retailer, of course, Amazon or Walmart or Sam's Club, Costco, but a website address usually. If Lolita was selling her books or something, you'd go to lolitawalker.com, janielacy.com, you go to a website and buy it. But I think, Robert, what's happening is that social media platforms are increasingly enabling that online, and some have different ones that other as well. So I think that, Robert, what are your thoughts on that as far as this aspect of selling? Is it no longer just a website issue? I'm finding out the point I'm leading at is that Facebook, they now have shops. Twitter is enabling businesses. Instagram shopping online. I just heard a rumor. One second, Robert. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, YouTube was telling me just now, and Google, that even YouTube, they're enabling shopping online. That's going to be coming where, you know, videos are happening. Talk to us about that, Robert, what you're seeing or what your perspective on that is.
Well, man, everybody's trying to get a piece of the pie. Amazon led the way. Amazon turned into this, you know, big thing. You know, I'm looking for a real spectacular word to use, but it turned into this huge thing. I mean, Amazon Prime changed the doggone game. And so everybody else is like, hold on, wait a minute. We're leaving money on the table. What do you mean? We've got all these people, YouTube, we got all these people, Google, Facebook, we got all these people gathering on our platforms. What else can we do to, you know, get in their pocket, get some of the coins, right? So everybody is now adding some e-commerce and figuring out how to do that, because you know that's what the market is. The challenge also is the more that happens, those nefarious folks in the corner, the scammers and the spammers, are now kind of saying, wait a minute, let's see how we can get a piece of that action too. And so now we've got to be a little bit more careful.
That's true. It is going to make it tougher. I mean, Dr. Janie Lacy, I'm not sure what you're seeing for your own business or others. You know, just being a person shopping online. Normally, you're on Facebook and Instagram, Dr. Janie, you're browsing, click, you go to a website, put your credit card in. But I think what we're going to see more is that people could be on Dr. Janie's site, my site, whoever's site, and within Instagram, within Facebook, within Twitter, do some sort of commerce. What do you think, Dr. Janie? Does that excite you? Are you looking forward to that, or thinking it's another big headache to overcome, or is it just another opportunity?
I think it's exciting and it's another opportunity, because I think I also see it as streamlining, right? The less clicks someone has to do, the less hurdles they have to jump to make it easier to buy the things that they need. I see nothing but a benefit there. But I also understand Robert's point that at some point, there's always another side of it. If there's too much spamming, there's too much selling, that's also a turnoff in certain cases, if that's constantly coming up in your face in social media.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Lolita, what say ye about this? So, you know, the days of just Shopify or other Alibaba, other platforms that were standard for e-commerce, being on YouTube, imagine. I don't think it's enabled now, but watching a video and right within that stream, clicking and buying what that is. What do you think?
Give me the options and allow me to choose. I'm all in, you know, allow me to choose. That's it. I'm in. And I love the idea, you know, as I was listening to all of us, that we have our own domain names, and that is so critical. And so, yes, I want somebody to be able to come to lolitawalker.com. I want you to be able to shop my products and my services. So yes, I want to be able to buy an ad and for you to go right there. I think it offers small businesses the unique opportunity to get in and play with some of the big boys. I love it.
Love it.
Speaking of domain names, if you got kids, buy them domain names, like when they're young, get them.
Great idea.
And instead of giving them gifts, like hard, just wrap the domain name in an envelope and say, I bought you this, no toys, but I got I love it, Robert. Let's do it.
Here's a future right here. Let's go.
Listen, book publishing is, I think, another thing that's very important, especially for many, many creators who are probably listening to us. I've written 5 books. I know that all of you have written 1 or more books, and definitely you produce a lot of content. My good friend, I think, Robert, he's your friend too. I'll turn to you first. Mark Schaefer, I think I have 1 or 2 of his books behind me, a digital marketing consultant and more. He talked about how he made 6 figures self-publishing his books. So if you listen to my monologue, I kind of break them down, Lolita, Dr. Janie, and Robert, so I won't go over that again. But Robert, talk to us about this aspect. Those who are listening to us, we know the power of content, so we won't go there today. But in particular, books. There is the aspect, the cachet of I'm a published author at some New York, publishing house. But I think more and more of us, I've self-published 2 of my 5 books, I think it was, and 1 of them I did a hybrid. Talk to us about what you're seeing, Robert, what you advise, where you would go, and why you would change it. Then I'm curious, Dr. Janie, I want to ask you also, would you go to big publisher? Would you do self-publish, and why? Lolita, I want to talk to you as well. Robert, what do you say?
Man, it's funny what books do, right? I could be talking all over the place. I could be on stages. I could be on platforms. I could have all these conversations. But the moment that I say, I have a book, people kind of, for some reason, look at that differently. If I'm speaking at an organization, or if I'm trying to get an organization to hire me as a speaker, I could have another speaker who has identical experiences to me. We're both as good on stage, both deliver the same content. But if I say, I've got a book, that separates me from them, because it also means that I can leave a takeaway when I'm not there with that audience, with that company, with that organization. It means that I've thought enough to capture some of my expertise in one specific area and utilize that for legacy, for whatever it is. But books really cause you to stand out in one way. And a lot of people focus on sales. Some people, they say, I don't want to do a book because, I don't know if I can sell it. But it's not so much the sales, especially in your first couple of books. Do not focus on or think you're going to get 100,000 book sales. It's really about capturing that content in that medium so that you can stand out.
I love it. I love it. And Dr. Janie, then with that said, and Dr. Janie, remind me, are you an author or not? If either way interests you.
Soulful Affirmations. Yes, right here.
Okay. And what's the name again of your book, please?
Soulful Affirmations.
Love it. Soulful Affirmations. Everybody should buy that book today using my affiliate link to buy Dr. Janie's book. No, Soulful Affirmations. Check that out. And Robert, let me go back to you quick. You're an author, I believe. Yes, I think multiple.
Yes.
Okay,
4 times.
Okay, good. Excuse me. What the last 2 books? Names?
Last 2, Find Your Voice, 28 Secrets to Inspire You to Speak Up, and 7 Ways to Know You Were Meant to Lead.
I love it.
Last
I love
2.
it. So Dr. Janie, based on what Robert said, based on what I said, what's your vote? Like do. Self-published author, is that really, because you've done it, right? Is that what you really want? The holy grail? Or are you like, no, I could do self-publish? And then why? What's your answer?
I think it depends on your purpose,
Okay.
right? So if you're using your book to have some level of what Robert said as credibility, and you have other things going on, perhaps using a publishing company to help with the marketing and promotion to help you get to whatever that goals are. But with self-publishing, I look at that as more of, I want to give value. And if I want to give value, then I want people to have access to me. And whether it's I'm speaking or those types of things, it's an extension of you where they can pick up the book any point in time and read your philosophies or whatever the topic may be, and focusing on the value and not the dollar amount, which to me will eventually bring the dollar amount.
Yeah. That's exactly right. The value, not the dollar, because the value will bring the dollar. Lolita Walker, I know your answer, but talk to us about your journey of publishing a book and the name of the book and what's inside. And I'd love to know your thoughts when you publish your next books, or why did you decide either self-published or publisher for the current book that's out, and tell us all about it.
Yes. This is always such a hot topic. Of course, we're going to talk about it on a rundown with Ramon. I am a self-published 2-time author. My first book, The Intersection of You and Change, Journeys Women, it started off as a journal, just me journaling. And to be honest, self-publishing, I chose for my first book and my second book, Can We Talk? Because I want the control. I want the control of my book. I want the control of doing those things without a third party. However, as I continue to move forward, I have been talking to people about publishing, going to a publishing house. So not only was it that, but you also, as you all know, as being self-published, is that you also take on the onus of doing all the other things. And I think one of the myths is that publishing houses handle everything, and that is not true. So before anybody goes directly to a publishing house, be sure that you're clear on exactly what it is that they are offering you, because some of it still falls inside of your corner. And my second book, Can We Talk? I'll tell you that I went to hardback. And it is the intention. Whoever said, I think it was Dr. Janie who said, what's the intention of your book? That is so important too. So self-publishing for me, maybe publishing in the future, but I'd love to hear you because you've used both.
Yes. So thank you so much. And also I did my book, Solita, because I don't have the patience and the mindset and the stamina and like the brilliance to become a doctor. It's just not going to happen. I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to pour over those, what they call a thesis, and postdoc, and all these big terms. Robert, it's just, I can't do it. It's too much. So I said, let me just write 5 books. And so, it's not the same, but hey, but I must say, isn't it cool, right, Robert and Lolita? When the plane crashes in the river, sadly, hopefully nobody's injured, when something happens, what sounds better? We have Ramon Ray telling us all about water currents, or we have Dr. Ramon Ray from New Jersey. He's telling us all about water currents. Come on now.
But tell me this, no matter if whichever way you're published, when you hold your book in your hand for the first time, isn't it something like, I'm telling you, it's something. And then let me tell you what else, whether you're published there or not, do you all write a note to yourself? Nice. Write a note to yourself in that moment. If you haven't done it, make sure you do it.
Love it. But no, to answer your question, Lolita, for sure, for those listening again, we're always here to help you on the Rundown with Ramon. As Robert and Dr. Janie and Lolita said, how you do it, it doesn't matter, but it matters after you decide, meaning what the purpose is. That's the overall thing. And so, yes, I've worked with a publisher. American Management Association published my first book, I believe it was, Technology Resources for Growing Businesses. My second book, I self-published based on a similar name and similar concepts. Third book, was Facebook Guide to Small Business Marketing. I did in conjunction with Facebook, and that was done by Wiley, which I'm happy. The cachet was there. This is many years ago too, right? We've evolved in the self-publishing and content spaces. So that was a nice cachet to have it published by Wiley. And then my last two, Celebrity CEO, I hybrid self-published. I paid money to a publisher, a few low thousands, for them to do, quote unquote, everything for me. And then my book, Grow Your Solo Business, more of a pamphlet-sized thing, which I'm proud of. Again, hopefully people can see there's not one way. It depends on the way it works for you. This has generated me money. Stripe drops money into my bank account. And it's a nice pamphlet size. It's online. And I did an audiobook. Again, I did it Ramon Ray. It's not like all the quality equipment of Robert. It's like scratching sounds and sirens, but it's okay. I did it my way. Robert, what do you want to say about that, Robert?
About your scratching sounds and your
I
sirens?
wasn't sure if you had a snide comment or something. I was trying to weed your face.
I do have an air horn for that, though. How about that?
I'll take that.
But Ramon, it's something about an audiobook.
Yes.
And I didn't do an audiobook for my first book, but for my second book, because it's poetry and it has sound, it's something about hearing the author being able to express what it is that they had when they wrote the book. So yay, Ramon.
Thank you, Lolita. Thank you. By the way, Lolita, I'm going to turn to you for this next quick point here as we continue on the Rundown with Ramon. But a simple way to introduce yourself, Lolita. This is by Andrea Wojnicki, who has an MBA and DBA, an executive communication coach and founder of Talk About Talk. And she says, Lolita, think of these 3 things as you introduce yourself. Think of the present, the past, and the future. So I thought that was not cute, but I thought that was very insightful, especially for those who may have difficulty introducing yourself. It could be a bit, I think the word is inhibiting. It could be a bit stressful for some. I think most of us here, it may not be, but I know many people in my life who find it very difficult walking into a room full of strangers and, hi, my name is Dr. One second, let me get my driver's license. Dr. Janie Lacey, that's right, yes. Dr. Janie Lacey, it can be inhibiting, right? Or Robert Kennedy, who freaks up. So past, present, and future, Lolita, what do you think about when you say that? Was that helpful for you? Like when you think, I can be in a room and talk about my past. I'm Lolita Walker and I was this, and present, and I'm excited about this thing today, and in the coming years I'll be this. What do you think?
It. Listen, I'm all about a formula. I'm all about a formula and seeing if it works for you. So if it's catchy, and then if I can apply it as you were talking, I'm like, introducing yourself as your past, your present, and your future. I kind of like that. And can you do it in one? I'm here really doing it in my mind. So I wonder, did she give an example? Because I'm wondering if it's something like, hey, I'm Lolita E. Walker. I thought about it and now I don't have it.
I can tell you. Yeah, I'm feeling. Yeah, okay. She says this one. Hey, I'm Ashley. I'm a software engineer. My current focus is optimizing customer experience. Yeah. Nice to meet you. So that was the present. And then the past, she goes, my background is computer science. Before joining the team, I did XYZ. And then future, she goes on, I'm honored to be here. The project is significant for all of us, kind of projecting how it will be. So that's kind of her frame.
Oh, I love it. I think I can do it in a sentence. I'm going to try right here. Okay, you ready? I think we got 1 second.
Let's go.
Listen, I am Lolita E. Walker. I have helped powerful women to be able to pull the greatness out of them. And then what I do is help them to be able to walk, talk, and behave differently now and in the future. What you think?
I love it.
I was thinking that was pretty good.
Hey, I think it was beautiful. I love it. I'm curious. Thank you, Lolita, Dr. Janie. Anything as the therapist in our resident group here, when people can't introduce themselves well or stumble, is that just human frailty? If I'm using the right word, is that trauma in the past? Could it be a mixture? Talk to us. Give us a 101 of introducing yourself, stumbling, or nerves and networking. Break it down for us. What are the problems if people have struggles doing that?
Generally speaking, when people have trouble speaking and introducing themselves, sometimes, right, making general statement, it can come from a place of insecurity. And that place of insecurity means they're looking at it as they have to sell themselves. Usually when it comes to introducing, especially in networking events, a lot of people think I have to go and sell myself, which brings up a lot of anxiety. And if they're already struggling with insecurity, then sometimes that can prevent people from really showing up as their best self. Yeah. So I think sometimes we have to change that paradigm as we're going into networking events and showing that, you know what, we're just going and having a cup of coffee with a potential new friend, right? And taking the sales part of it out of that. Because I think no one wants to be sold and no one wants to have to sell, so to speak.
Yes. And I'm going to challenge the Rundown with Ramon audience. Yeah. The first person to email me your pitch, I'm making the bar high. Email me a link to your pitch. Please don't send me a 54 gigabyte file. Will not happen. Email me a link to your pitch. I'm going to buy a copy of Lolita's recent book, Dr. Janie's book, Robert's book, and I'm going to send it to y'all. If you're in like the US, if you're like Senegal or Cuba or Morocco, I'll get the ebook version. But Robert, were you going to add anything to that, brother? The communication?
Yeah, I'm a little bit different. I do like formulas and frameworks, but from the example that was given, it feels like it can get stale for me after a little bit. Yes. Right? I really want people to be able to lean into humanity and emotion. So there are times when you're introducing yourself, you might state your name, but what excites you? Yes. What do you believe in? What is something that is happening in the world right now that really resonates with you? Because you want to be able to help people not just know who you are, but you want them to go back into their own brains and flip through their mental Rolodex to see what they feel about some things as well. So connection and engagement, even in introductions. And I love what Dr. Janie just said about the fear of having to sell yourself, right? A lot of times we think about introducing ourselves as a pitch, and it's not just a pitch. It's that moment to connect and find out who's your tribe, who are your people, and who you can help potentially. But let's get some of the humanity and the emotion in there as well.
But what about if, I have a question.
Please.
What about if your talking is you, right? My intro is me. That's what I found passion and purpose in. I think I get what you're saying too. Like sometimes when people introduce themselves, particularly at a networking event, I walk away and I'm like, oh my gosh, everybody sounds like computers. And I think that's where you're going to. Yes. But having that connection and relatability is where you're getting, like, talk to me about who you are, like, after all that shell. So I get it too. But what if it's your passion and literally you're talking from that piece?
So if I use your example just now, that came through, that shined through for you because you help women do a specific thing, which is like your life. It comes through your pores, right? That shines through. That shares a belief. So somebody's like not just hearing Lolita, they're saying, oh my gosh, she's energized or she's enthusiastic about this specific thing. I wish I could be exciting too about my thing, right? So there's that energy piece of it. And as we just talked about, we also want to not just say, hi, I'm Robert, this is my title, and this is what I'm doing next, right? We want to be human first and foremost. and connect with people.
Yes.
But you know, Robert, Lolita, Dr. Janie, I got to be careful. We got to wrap up the rundown with Ramon in a few minutes here, but I got to be careful what I tell people I'm excited about, Robert, because mine, it could turn off some people, Robert. Robert, ask me, Ramon, what's exciting about you? I want you to ask me that.
Ramon, what's exciting about you, Ramon?
Oh, I like burnt pancakes and bacon with high fructose corn syrup and 2 glasses of cold milk every other week. So, I can't, it's like the world's changed, unhealthy, Robert. I'm just messing, man. But I get
that leads into something else, man. That leads into something else. Everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to be connected with you. So do I always introduce myself, or do I always show up in a way to make sure as many people like me as possible? Or do I show up as authentic me? When I say that, I'm, within certain parameters, right? Not being extreme. But do I show up as authentic me so that people can really see if I'm a person that they connect with, whose community they want to be a part of?
That's a good point. That's a good point. I will say one thing, Robert, to that point is amazing. When I talked about, I gently said I like to have 2 glasses of cold milk, and you all may understand what I'm trying to say. I didn't fully get the point. I don't, but I think point is many who are vegan, it could be some of you on this panel who are vegan. When I said I like to have milk, I didn't even think I said whole milk, because I don't talk that way, but I said milk. A lady, nice lady, came up to me and she said that she was bothered because drinking cow's milk is not safe, is not good. Those listening can Google it, but I think many people understand what I'm trying to say. And she was a bit bothered by it. So I received it, of course, and smiled and just thanked her for it. But to your point, Robert, even in saying something innocent as that, the first time a lady literally walked up to me, kind of said it to me, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know that was a thing. I'm so sorry. But we had a good time. Afterwards, of course, as by God's grace, we left smiling and we were best of friends. But she started out, she was kind of hot. She came in at me and I was like, woo, okay. So
you know what I took away that I've said before? I didn't even know that was a thing. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Robert, let me throw this back to you. We got a few more things we want to cover, but Apple, Robert, Inc. magazine, Jason Ayton had an interesting comment that with one sentence, Apple reminded everyone, Robert, why it's the most valuable company on earth. And many people may think, Dr. Janie and Lolita, that it's the products. I get it. They look so good. They're well designed. The boxes, when they were opened, I think Apple ushered in better product design that other companies today now are modeling. I think Nest and others could be, as I speak metaphorically. But Robert, what was interesting about the article is that I want to quote here in your opinion, Robert, for this is that the CFO of Apple, Luca Maestri, said, everybody's had problems, this, that, and the other, but we're doing well. We're just better at managing our business. He acknowledged we have the same problems as everybody else, supply chain logistics, but he said we're managing it well, Robert. So touch on that for a few seconds, is that in business is hard. And what Dr. Janie Lacey does, not in a bad way, but could be a dime a dozen. There's a lot of therapists out there. There's a lot of people who have great voice and who coach women. Dr. Janie Lacey. I tell everybody, speakers are a dime a dozen. You can spit and find a public speaker, but how I do what I do. So Robert, my point being with Apple, what they pull out of this is that they're great at running their business. When you hear that, Robert, what's your advice for others? What does that mean to you, Robert?
I mean, that's market leader, right? They were the first to do certain things, or the first to show up in a certain way, So Apple wasn't the first company to make an MP3 player. Right. They just happened to make the iPod. That was something that led the market. So they've been used to being in a certain position visibly for a very long time. That doesn't mean that there are not problems that happen, but because they've had practice, because they've been able to walk through things, because they've hit the wall first, they have a little bit more practice in doing it than some people. So I think how that translates to maybe smaller business owners is, don't wait for everybody else. Don't be afraid to be a pioneer. Don't be afraid to share your ideas or be the first in a certain area, even if it doesn't make sense to everybody else. Because when everybody else finally does catch up, you will have had practice dealing with some of those things. And you can say, it might come across as snobby, like maybe Apple did, but you can say, yeah, I have those problems. I'm just better at dealing with it.
Right. I love it, Robert. Listen, our last segment, this is going to be, everybody sit back, those watching, buckle your seats. We're going to get into another political discussion here. This is going to be heated. I know that Dr. Janie and Lolita are going to be in the fight of the year. This is going to be like, I'm afraid of what's going to happen next. Robert is going to be probably in a very uncomfortable position. Maybe so am I. So viewers, if you have children nearby, bring them into the room. So here we go here. Wall Street Journal, I believe it was, had a fun article. Why salesmen should consider growing beards. So I'm going to end on that. Lolita, I'm going to turn to you first.
I knew I was coming first. I knew I look,
okay, Lolita.
be careful what you say over
So
there.
Lolita, what say ye? Let me set the study up. Actually, I'll set the study up afterwards. I'll tell you what the study said. But Lolita, having fun here, poking fun at Robert and myself. What do you say? And they did interview ladies, which have a different perspective than other men. So that is a difference. I'll share that in a minute. But you, Lolita Walker, just playing with us here. Robert and I are selling pens. You know, does the beard make a difference or not in your judgment?
You know,
okay.
Lolita E. Walker is easily distracted.
Okay.
So I'm taking a look at the beard. Usually I have no clue what's going on over here. I'm taking my first 5 minutes are looking at the beard, seeing is the line right? Is there stuff inside? What's going on? Sometimes they're super burly or they have little, I'm distracted.
I got you.
See, yours is very nice and calm. So I might only do a couple seconds with you.
Got it. All right. We got that vote. That seems like I'm going to put that into see, look at him showing off. He got his whole hair kit. Dr. Janie Lacey. Now, Lolita went with, I'll call zero, meaning neither here nor there, but but she said the beard got to be tight. So I'm going to put that for fun in the no column. She didn't say it. That's just me to make it hard. Dr. Janie Lacey, you have to break the tie from the ladies' side. What say ye?
I can easily break the tie. This is a personal preference. I like clean and simple. So if it was Ramon and Robert, I may see Ramon and I may think Robert needs to be in the gym and take off his shirt.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Robert, talk to us about your journey with beards, Robert. You've had a beautiful, beautiful beard for some time now, brother. Talk to us about it. Talk to us about, just have some fun. Pros, cons, challenges, no challenges. Give us a story.
I may not always drink, but when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. No, okay. Man, it's for me personally, it's just been this conversation piece.
Yes.
When I have conversations with people or when I have interactions with people, it's, as I talked about connections earlier, some people they're attracted to it, or they may say, hey, that's a really nice beer. So that's kind of like an icebreaker for me. That's a door opener. And we have some level of connection at some point. I have some idea about what they like already, and so we can continue our conversations from there. And maybe that's the same thing from a salesperson's perspective. They're always looking for door openers. They're always looking for icebreakers, and maybe that's it. And maybe beards just inspire trust.
Yes. Robert, I'll give you my vote. I will continue the conversation, Robert. My vote as well. I like a good beard. If I could grow a beard, I would have a beard. When I say I can grow hair, but it looks all stubbly and scraggly. I can't. It takes me 50 years to grow it like that. But definitely nice and tight and clean. My son, he's a young man, just at home and all that stuff. And I'm like, dude, when you go out, clean that up. It looks really good on him. But everybody, listen one more time. Lolita Walker, one more time. Tell us the best way to reach you. Best way people can get in touch with what you're doing in the world. What's the best way, Lolita?
Lolita, Lolita Walker.com, and come on over to Instagram. Hey, Coach Walker, I'd love to see you.
I love it. Dr. Janie Lacey, what's the best way that people can reach out to you and connect with you?
Yep, absolutely. JanieLacey.com, JanieLacy, and I'm on all the social media as Janie Lacey. Not hard to find me.
I love it. And Robert Kennedy III, I think you mentioned a new method too. Talk to us.
Let's do it. RK3, that's me. All the socials are there. You can also get some free resources and gifts, figuring out how to help you communicate and be a better speaker, presenter, etc. So let's go. RK3, that's me.
I love it. I love it. This is Ramon Ray. You can find me at RamonRay.com. And everybody, listen, this is the Rundown with Ramon. Thanks so much for listening. We hope you've helped your business grow. We hope you helped your personal life be better. And this is the amazing panel that we have each and every week, give or take. But again, I'm Ramon Ray, and thank you. I'm talking to you. You. Thank you. That's right, Lolita. Thank you for watching the Rundown with Ramon.